Welcome, one and all, to Cinematic Excrement. Today we are looking at the wonderful world of Disney, caving to fascism since 1938. Google Walt Disney and Leni Riefenstahl if you want to ruin your childhood. Specifically, we are looking at Disney's recent adaptation of Snow White. Released earlier this year and directed by Mark Webb, Snow White is Disney's latest live-action reimagining of one of their classic animated films. In this case, 1937's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. In case you somehow did not have a childhood, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was Walt Disney Productions' first ever animated feature film. It was incredibly successful, lucky for Walt as he had to mortgage his house to make the film, and is widely regarded today as a classic. But nothing is sacred for today's Disney, so of course it got the live-action treatment. And this is nothing new for Disney. While they've recently been churning those sumbitches out, they first gave us a live-action remake many years ago with The Jungle Book. No, not that one. That's the one. Way back in 1994, Disney gave us a new take on Rudyard Kipling's classic tale of Mowgli, or Mowgli, depending on whether you're going by Disney's pronunciation or Kipling's, the boy who was raised by animals in the jungle. Unlike the animated feature from 1967, it focuses more on Mowgli as a young man, played by Jason Scott Lee. Also, unlike the original movie, it's a bit more grounded in reality as the animals don't talk. Then again, it also has a sequence where a snake charmer makes a rope magically float in midair and Mowgli is able to climb it. This is what confused me about the movie. Sometimes it's trying to be realistic, other times it's basically a live-action cartoon. It can't seem to make up its mind what it wants to be. Overall, I don't think it's a bad movie. It's shot well, it has a pretty solid cast including Sam Neill, Lena Headey, Cary Elwes, and John Cleese, and while I think the 2016 version is the better Jungle Book movie, and the 1994 version is less Jungle Book and more Indiana Jones, it's perfectly cromulent. Which is why I'm surprised Disney seems intent on denying this movie's existence. It got a DVD release back in 2002, and since then, nothing. It's not even on Disney Plus, and I really don't know why. There's nothing overly problematic about the movie that I'm aware of, and even if there was, Disney Plus usually just slaps a disclaimer on at the beginning and they go about their day, so why should this be any different? In any case, further live-action remakes were somewhat sporadic until the mid-2010s when they really ramped it up. They put out 4 of them in 2019 alone. 5 if you count the Maleficent sequel. Then 2020 happened and that ground everything to a halt. Then there was the SAG-AFTRA strike, which also ground everything to a halt, including Snow White, which was originally scheduled for 2024. But it finally hit theaters in March of 2025 and face-planted. It made just over $200 million on a budget somewhere between $240 and $270, making it one of Disney's most expensive films and a certified box office bomb. And some might suggest Snow White's failure at the box office is due to live-action remake fatigue, but I'm not sure I buy that considering the live-action Lilo and Stitch was released the same year and made over $1 billion. I think there are other reasons, one of which is the movie just wasn't very good. There was also some controversy that started before the movie was even released, which I really don't want to talk about, but I know I'm gonna get torn to shreds in the comments if I don't bring it up, so here we go. The first thing that got so many people clutching their pearls so hard they crumbled into powder was the casting of Rachel Ziegler as Snow White. Never mind the fact that she's a talented actress and singer, nope, that doesn't matter. All that matters is Ziegler is not Caucasian. Although that's not actually true because her father is of Polish descent, but apparently if she's not 100% white, it doesn't count. Folks, I am so tired. So tired. Must we go through this every time a movie casts a lead that isn't fully Caucasian? Especially when it's a fictional character? I swear this is going to give me a goddamn aneurysm. Oh, but it's not true to the original story. It's not true to the original story. Yeah, you know what? Good. Because the original story is fucked up, okay? A lot of Grimm's fairy tales are. And I don't believe I ever heard a single person who complained about Ziegler's casting suggesting Disney should use the original ending of the fairy tale in which Snow White forces the Wicked Queen to wear red-hot iron slippers and dance in them until she dies. The Brothers Grimm had some issues. In any case, the movie has plenty of problems, but Rachel Ziegler is not one of them. Her Spirit Halloween-esque costume is a problem, but that's hardly her fault. Anyway, there was also some controversy surrounding the Seven Dwarfs, which started when a photo from the set leaked showing 1 person with dwarfism and 6 full-sized people. This prompted some people, including Jason Acuna, aka Wee Man from Jackass, to wonder why Disney was making Snow White and the 7 average people. Disney added to the confusion by initially claiming the photos were fake. However, they later admitted they were real, but were deliberately vague as to what exactly they represented. Now that I've seen the movie, I can tell you these 7 average people are not meant to be stand-ins for the 7 dwarfs. They are a group of bandits led by Andrew Burnap's character Jonathan, and we'll get to him later. The actual 7 dwarfs were not played by on-screen actors at all. They were created using computer animation. This was a mistake. Instead of Snow White and the 7 dwarfs, or indeed Snow White and the 7 average people, we got Snow White and the 7 CGI abominations. And to me, this seems like a case of arguably good intentions leading to very bad ideas. I can understand why the filmmakers wouldn't want to contribute to stereotyping a marginalized group. That's a good thing. But this was not the way. And it resulted in criticism from various actors with dwarfism, as by making the characters CGI, Disney is denying them roles. That's not helpful. I am reminded of comments made by Kevin and Tracy Thompson, a little person couple who have worked in Hollywood. They weren't against playing elves and leprechauns and munchkins and whatever the hell. They just wanted to be able to do other stuff too. Don't just pigeonhole them into those roles. They're capable of so much more. But it seems somebody took completely the wrong lesson from that message. And this is all amplified by the fact that A, they actually had a little person in the cast, he's just not playing one of the 7 dwarfs, and B, the CGI dwarfs look so terrible. I mean, look at Dopey. Look at him. Don't you fucking turn away. I had to suffer through this and you will suffer with me. Look at him. He looks like the mascot for Mad Magazine. Was this really the better option? Well, now that we have that out of the way, let's look at the story, which has gone through some changes since the 1937 version. And I'd expect them to do that. There's no point in just retelling the exact same story and doing a shot-for-shot remake. And one of those changes is the aforementioned Jonathan, who is a Robin Hood-type character who robs from the rich and gives to the poor in the name of the rightful king whose throne was usurped by the wicked queen. Or some such bullshit. To me, he came across less as a hero and more as a selfish prick. By the end of the movie, we're meant to believe he's had a change of heart, but I'm not buying it. I think he just wanted to find out what was underneath Snow White's terrible costume. Seriously, how did they spend $270 million on this movie? If that costume costs more than $100, I'll eat it. Anyway, it's unfortunate that Jonathan isn't a great character, as he is Snow White's love interest this time around, which could be an interesting twist on the story if Burnap and Ziegler had good chemistry, but they do not. I have seen far worse, but I've seen a lot better too. They also made some changes to the dwarfs in that they are not explicitly referred to as dwarfs. Based on their appearance, I assume they are demons. They also have some sort of magical ability that helps them find the gems in the mine, and I have no idea why this was included. It has nothing to do with the story. It feels like a change that was made for the sake of change. Snow White's origin has also been tweaked a bit, although it retains some elements of the original story. After Snow White's mother dies off-screen, her father remarries, and at first the new queen seems like a decent gal. Then he dies off-screen, and the queen drops the mask and goes full tyrant, ruining the once peaceful kingdom and forcing her stepdaughter to become a servant in the castle. But one day, the queen consults her magic mirror, which apparently has one purpose and one purpose only, to tell the queen she's the hottest bitch in the land. Magic mirror on the wall, who is fairest of them all? Madam, please, you ain't all that. Snow White's booty is where it's at. So the queen has been demoted to second fairest in the land, and she thinks to herself, you know, maybe I've become too obsessed with beauty. Surely there are more important things in life than— Just kidding, she orders the huntsman to kill Snow White. But the huntsman actually has a soul and can't do the job, and he tells Snow White to run away. And this is where it gets weird. Snow White ends up running through a seemingly haunted forest in a sequence that's similar to the original film, except the original makes it clear that the creepy haunted stuff Snow White encounters is all in her head. She's understandably traumatized after learning her stepmother tried to have her killed. But the new version doesn't do that. There is no indication that she's imagining this. It's portrayed as if the forest is actually haunted. That was a weird choice, especially since this haunted forest never comes up again. Like I said before, change for the sake of change. Oh shit, it's Gamork! Oh wait, no, it's just Bambi. Anyway, the queen, played by Gal Gadot, is kinda stupid in this movie. In both versions, the queen asks the huntsman to bring her Snow White's heart in a box. In the original, the huntsman tricks the queen by giving her a pig's heart. But in the new version, he puts an apple in the box. And this works because the queen is too dumb to actually look inside the box until the magic mirror tells her Snow White is still the fairest in the land. But Snow White is dead! With murder, your huntsman could not go through. Sorry, honey, you're still number 2. You lie! He brought me her heart! Did he? What? Did you open the box? Oh my god, you didn't open the box? I've been busy, okay? Busy doing what? Not busy opening the box? Fine, I'll open the box. Fine. Fine! It's an apple. It's an apple. I've been tricked! Who's the dumbest one of all? What? What? Yeah, this version of the Queen is not a very good villain. She's kinda shit. After she gains control of the kingdom, which seems to rely primarily on farming, she immediately conscripts all of the farmers into the army. Why? I have no idea. There's a mention of some vague threat beyond the Southern Kingdom, but we never actually see what it is, and it may not have been real to begin with. So, what's the point? Why raise an army if they're not going to do anything? And where is all the food coming from if they have no more farmers? It seems like the movie is going for some kind of war is bad message, and yes, it is, but this is a half-assed way of saying it. I know it's a kid's movie, but you can still put effort into your message. As is, it's kinda weak. Speaking of things that are kinda weak, Gal Gadot's performance as the Wicked Queen leaves something to be desired. Granted, I don't know if she deserves 100% of the blame. Part of the problem is the character is very inconsistent. Sometimes she's very calm, deliberate, and sinister. Other times...
Are you against me too? Are you?
Whoa, easy there, Your Highness. Tone it down a bit. Ooh, we're definitely in trouble if the movie is starting to remind me of Jupiter Ascending.
Destroy any ship that comes near the planet.
Somehow, all these years later, that is still funny. This is the problem with The Wicked Queen. The movie can't decide if she's supposed to be sinister or campy, especially when we get to her musical number. Speaking of which, the movie has some new songs, and they are not great. The Queen's villain song, All Is Fair, just doesn't fit the tone that I thought they were trying to set with this character. It's too campy, and a camp take on Snow White would probably work, but you have to be consistent, and they weren't. And it doesn't help that Gadot's singing isn't very good. It sounds like she had a little help from autotune. As for Snow White, she gets a new I Want song, Waiting on a Wish. It's fine. It's not particularly memorable, but I have no real complaints. And of course, Ziegler can actually sing. Jonathan's song, Princess Problems, is dreadful. Not Burnap's fault, he can sing just fine, but the lyrics are terrible. It's about how out of touch Snow White is with the problems that the common folk face, and if he was talking to any other royal, he might have had a point there. But Snow White was forced into a life of servitude by the Queen. How is she that much better off than you, dude? There's also the fact that her stepmother is trying to kill her, and you think she doesn't have real problems? Come on, man. Snow White and Jonathan also get a duet in A Hand Meets a Hand, which I also wasn't a fan of. It's not terrible, but it's basically just Waiting on a Wish Part 2, and I didn't really need to hear the same thing twice. The movie also brought back some songs from the original, like Heigh, but with brand new lyrics. And much to my surprise, this is one of the bright spots of the movie. When I got to the point in the movie where the dwarfs sing the new Heigh-Ho, I was shocked. You're changing a classic song? How dare you mess with my childhood? Blasphemy! But by the time I got to the end, it had won me over. It's actually pretty good. The original Heigh-Ho is fun and catchy, but it's also very simple. And sometimes simple is good, but it also means they had room to play with. The new version by Benj Pasek and Justin Paul adds some new lyrics and verses that introduce all the characters. It has a decent running gag.
I'm sleepy. Yeah, we know!
It incorporates a bit of We Dig 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 in the middle of the song this time, and then it's Home from Work We Go, Heigh-Ho. It's mostly a brand new song while still feeling familiar, and I think it works pretty well. It does unfortunately have some obvious auto-tuning, much like All Is Fair. But otherwise, I liked it, even with the horrible CGI abominations. The movie also gives us a new version of Whistle While You Work, although the changes aren't as drastic as Heigh-Ho. But unlike the original movie where Snow White and the woodland creatures clean the dwarf's house, the dwarfs do it themselves. In fact, Snow White doesn't do much cleaning at all.
Now you wash the dishes. You tidy up the room.
Come on.
You clean those cobwebs. And he'll use the broom.
And I will supervise. To be fair, there's probably a practical reason for this. Ziegler is performing this song with a bunch of CGI characters that aren't actually there, so interacting with them as little as possible means the VFX team's job is easier. Overall, it's still a pretty good take on a classic song. They also included the silly song, but only a few bars. It's so brief that I wonder why they bothered. And that's it for the original songs. There is no Someday My Prince Will Come this time around, because the love interest is not a prince, and I'm not too bothered by that. I may be in the minority on this one, but I was never a huge fan of that song, mostly because I just didn't like the OG Snow White singing voice. I know that kind of singing was the style at the time, but there's a reason why it is no longer the style of the time.
And away to his castle we'll go.
Well, I hope you go soon, because I can't take much more of this. So in the end, we have a decent mix of new songs and old. The problem is the songs don't really mix all that well. The new songs are basically Broadway pop, and it really clashes with the classic songs. They don't feel like they belong in the same movie. Pasek and Paul come from musical theater, so I can't say I'm surprised by the Broadway pop sound. Write what you know. But it does make me wonder if they were the right choice for the job. I suppose they could have scrapped the old songs and gone with entirely new material, but fat chance of that happening. I'm pretty sure that would have caused a riot. Well, I suppose we should talk about how the movie ends, as this is where it really deviates from the original. Snow White still ends up eating a poisoned apple given to her by the Queen disguised as an old lady, although her voice hardly changes at all. I'm honestly surprised Snow White didn't say, "Hey, you sound exactly like my stepmother." That's weird. Anyway, the apple puts her to sleep, but Jonathan brings her back with true love's kiss. True love my ass? They've known each other for, what, 3 days? And this is where the original movie ends, but in the new movie, there's still a lot to do because Snow White still has to overthrow the Tyrant Queen, and she manages to do so without too much trouble. She walks right back into town and convinces the army to lay down arms by remembering their names. Yeah, that's apparently all it takes, which makes me wonder why she didn't just do that in the first place. Now, they do allude to this earlier in the movie when Snow White tells the dwarfs how her parents taught her the importance of remembering someone's name, so it didn't come out of nowhere, but it's still kinda silly. And if they were gonna go with an ending that silly, I wish they had played it up a bit. It would have been kinda funny if the Queen was like, "Really? You're betraying your Queen just because Snow White remembered your name? Do you remember my name?" What? Do you remember my name? Sure, of course I do. Go on then. It's, don't tell me, Gerald? Paul. Right, that was going to be my next guess. Oh, I got some iron slippers with your name on them. Time to go. So the Queen runs back to the mirror and smashes it in anger, and somehow she gets sucked into hell, I think? And the people celebrate because they can grow food again, and they all live happily ever after. And that is Disney's Snow White, 2025 edition. It kinda sucks. Sure, it's not all bad. Ziegler was very good in spite of what she had to work with. Some of the songs were good, and even when they weren't, they were at least choreographed well. Some of the new story elements weren't bad. Dopey actually has an arc in this movie, and it's kinda touching in spite of, that face. He's a mute at first, much like the original movie, but after making friends with Snow White, she helps him find his voice. And by the end of the movie, he's able to talk and is revealed to be the narrator of the story. I kinda dug that. I also like the bandit Quig, played by George Appleby, who has a running gag where he claims to be the master of the crossbow, even though he's only wielding a slingshot. And of course, everyone calls him out on this.
It was stolen.
But by the time he finally does get his hands on a crossbow, he saves Snow White's life with it. Turns out he wasn't lying. That was kind of awesome. Unfortunately, the awesome moments are few and far between. The new songs don't mesh very well with the old, there's too much auto-tune, the story is weak overall, the villain is an idiot, the love interest is bland, and whoever thought those goddamn CGI dwarves were a good idea deserves to be beaten with sticks. And what kills me is Grumpy is voiced by Martin Kleba, the dude from Pirates of the Caribbean. So you'll let a little person voice one of the dwarves, but God forbid you put him on camera, right? Suffice to say, Disney's live-action remakes have not won me over. They've had one or two that were pretty good, like the 2016 Jungle Book, but most have ranged from okay to crap. Snow White is definitely on the crap side of the scale. The one question I always ask about any remake is, does it do enough to justify its own existence? And boy, howdy, it does not. Even if it wasn't a remake, it wouldn't justify its own existence. Stick with the original and give this one a pass. It feels a little weird doing an episode on a movie the same year it came out. That is not something I do very often. Weirder still, we're doing it again next time. Until then, I am the Smeghead, and I hope Disney doesn't screw up the live-action Moana.
Seems like the queen has plenty already.
Oh, I see. So that's your excuse for stealing.
Yes?